The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes,
Are you ready for a break?
absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
You got money.
It is Wednesday, October 30th, 2024, Season 20, Episode number 58. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. See why at lg.com/OLED Evo. Hey, you
We don't have money
said
for
that
a running back. We don't have money for that.
said it right as you were going on the air.
Sorry.
Welcome
but
to the
yes,
show, everyone.
You do have money. He's
I
over
do
here
not.
trying to bring
I
my
do not
laptop.
Have money. I do not have money. I work for somebody that has money, though, so that tends to.
We all do.
It helps. All right. Today we got a lot we're going to get into. We'll talk about this Atlanta offense, man. Nick, I think you came in, you mentioned you kind of started looking at the film and like, whoo. It's got some challenges over there you got to deal with, particularly on their offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, we'll talk about their offensive side of the ball today, correct? And that's really all I've had a chance to look at this week. I've been doing a little bit more draft stuff, so I'm a little behind, but I have
Draft
had a chance to. Yeah, it's never too early.
Draft stuff.
It's never too early. But
Wow.
Wow. I looked at their offense. This is
Trying to be the smartest guy in the room now, huh?
Right. You see that, right?
This is a tough matchup.
Look, challenge.
Yeah, no, this is a tough matchup.
This is a tough matchup.
It
I don't
is.
want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Give
I'm
me
just
some
giving you
good
the facts.
news.
That's all I can give
Give
you
me
there,
some good news.
Hey, it's
I don't.
facts.
Yeah.
It's facts. It's gonna be a tough matchup. We'll get into all that here in the second segment. I want to start first
Draft
though
stuff.
with you still caught on that with injuries. Let's get
Simmer first over here.
I think there are 5 injuries that this week Cowboys fans need to be aware of and keep an eye on. I'm going to run down this list. I want you guys to tell me what you're hearing about them. Let's start first with Amani Oruwariye.
Oruwariye. I know it's tough. It's tough.
Oruwariye. What are we hearing about him after he got hurt last week in the game versus the Niners?
Yeah, saw him in the locker room after the game versus the Niners. He was walking around, and I kind of gone up to him, "Hey, how you feeling?" He's like, "I'm good." But that's what anybody says right after a game. So able to follow up this week with some folks, and it sounds like that injury was a little bit worse than anticipated. He took a knee straight to the spine, so there's fear that could be some extensive time missed there. But the further testing this week and probably further evaluation will probably prove a little bit more. I expect to hear more on that front from McCarthy today.
With all that going on with him, it becomes even more important what's happening with the others. Let's talk about Deron Bland and Kalen Carson.
So today's the deadline for Deron Bland to get activated off the injured reserve list. His 21-day window is up today, so they have to activate him today, but that does not necessarily mean he will play on Sunday.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead. I think Bland and Carson will both be available when we get to Sunday in Atlanta. That's just me theorizing. I don't really know anything to that point. I want to make sure and clarify that. That's me theorizing. I think both those guys will be ready on Sunday.
All right, and
great job, by the way, of doing that. I reached out to a couple different people, and man, there are a lot of things they're dealing with over there right now. And you're asking questions about like, hey, your injured guy is going to try and give it a go this week, practice and all that, and you get answers back like, well, that's an in-depth question right now that we have too many to decide on. So that's that it's unfortunately though that this is where we're at, and you needed those. Maybe a couple of those guys can come back and help. We'll talk about Atlanta's offense here in a bit. There are some challenges, and it'd be nice if you could somehow Carson, Parsons, Bland, all these guys. The more guys you could possibly get back that would help you to deal with what you're about to have happen ahead.
It's always amazing to me, and I don't know what causes this, but it seems like in the NFL, and you watch it with the Cowboys up close, but it seems like injuries just seem to happen all at one position, all at the same time. It's like you can't spread them out. Like, can you get a injury at one position and then another position? But it's like this year when it comes to defensive end and cornerback, it's just the Cowboys have just been decimated, and it's just I don't know why that tends to happen, but last year was linebacker, right? It just seems like you get this position, and then all of a sudden you take a bunch of hits at one position, and it could be a position that even you think is a strength, because I look when we're going into the season thinking they had pretty good depth there at the cornerback position. Oruwariye was not really even a part of that at the time, and has come in and played admirably for them. And now you got to deal with injuries there. Let's talk about Rico Dowdle. What are we hearing? Is it at this point? Is he fine?
Was told he could have played Monday.
Okay.
So yeah, it was just something that kind of spurred up over the weekend, and obviously didn't play Sunday because his fever had reached into the hundreds. So just kind of played it on the safe end as far as that goes.
See, Derek?
There's
He had a fever.
There's some conspiracy going around. I want to go ahead and clarify.
He was trying to come up with some conspiracy theories.
It was not me, for the record. Don't put that on me. It was not me.
And to address
the words
that,
of Shaggy.
Right. It wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
to address
Not
that,
me.
There has been some conspiracy going around like, somebody pushed Rico out, so Zeke and Dalvin would have more opportunities. That's just not the case.
Yeah, the fact
you can
is-
either believe it or you can't. That's just not the case. And what happened? Well, I think if there's any blame to be put on the team, it's the sense that maybe we didn't know about this sickness a little bit earlier. But that's it. I don't think there's any other blame that needs to be going around.
You talked to folks Saturday night to try and get a handle on this because there was a lot of tweets that were going around, and I know Nick was working hard on it. I think we all were working on it. And it never was him being inactive.
Right.
It never was. It was always going to be, they're probably going to go light on defense. They're probably going to go a couple of corners here. That's probably what they're going to do. It never was that, no, he was going to be, he was always going to be active. He always was going to be active until he got sick.
Yep.
And then once that happened, because I talked to 2-3 guys in the organization that were like, man, and I was trying to guess. I was trying to play the game of, okay, well, how about this, and this? Well, maybe think about this, and this. And it never was about Rico. It was always Rico was always in the mix.
Right.
Zeke was always in the mix. It was going
And
to be.
Cook was going to be in the mix.
Cook was going to be in the
That
mix.
was the plan,
And Lipke was in the mix.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, well, what's going to happen? Well, think about your injured guys. Okay, take the injured guys off.
Yeah.
Now think about some other positions. 49ers, a little banged up at wide receiver. Maybe we could go a little bit lighter at cornerback because we don't have to deal with maybe so much with all their wide receivers.
Yep.
So their plan, I don't think they were trying to pull a fast one on anybody. I think legitimately the guy got sick and it looks, the optics doesn't look great, but I know Saturday night, before I went to bed at midnight, that there was a plan of him playing in that football game.
Yeah, there's so many times that because we travel with the team, we'll start hearing little whispers of things from time to time. And when I tell you, everybody was like, "What?"
Yeah,
because it was not something that was out there or that anybody really even suspected would happen. I don't even think people on the team suspected it was happening. It was one of those situations where the next morning that the fever spiked and for whatever reason they decide he can't go and then they put him down. So I think that's just kind of that's the nature of that's well no not they didn't put him down. He just didn't play.
took him behind the barn.
But that's the nature of I guess the world we live in now. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. Everybody's always wondering what's the conspiracy here. Sometimes there really just is no conspiracy. It is what it is. All right, let's real quick. I want to kind of introduce this Atlanta Falcons team. They are 5-3 right now. They have beaten Philadelphia. They've beaten Tampa Bay twice, which Tampa's a really good team. I think when they took their injuries last week, I thought they might fall off, but they've been playing pretty well throughout the season. They've beaten them twice. They have lost to Pittsburgh, Kansas City, and Seattle. Seattle really is the only team that beat them up good. Most of their games they've lost. If they've lost or if they've won, it's been an 8-point differential between the winner and the loser, except for that Seattle game where they lost 34-14. They are right now first place, though, in the NFC South. If you had to introduce this team to Cowboys fans, what would be the one thing you think Cowboys fans need to know going into this game about the Atlanta Falcons?
Kirk Cousins is not an old man. That is,
good one.
Yeah, he is. He's making everybody around him better. He is making that offense better. He's making those weapons better. He's making that team better. And he's very much a game manager. But he's like the LeBron James of Brock Purdy's, if that makes sense.
Wait, hold on.
In the sense
LeBron James
of Brock Purdy.
Old man with
And it's
skill.
game manager,
Yeah,
just
game
like
manager,
the LeBron James
yeah.
of game managers.
Got it. Okay.
He can do it. He gets
That's an interesting
everybody
way to
involved.
put it, but yeah.
He gets everybody involved. He doesn't try to do too much. He is. We'll get into more. I believe in the second segment just about ways I think they could attack Cousins in that passing attack. But he's not an old man. He's definitely playing up to his value right now.
Quality at running back once again. Here you are with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. They do a really nice job of running the football, and a lot of it has to do with the scheme. I think that here's another one of those. We seem to be dealing with all these young play callers. Zach Robinson has done a really nice job of taking what he has with the game manager, but then marrying it to the running game. They're going to attack the middle of the field, which that's kind of Kirk Cousins. He's not going to throw the ball outside the pocket much. He's going to stand right there in the middle, and he's going to throw. And they've got, they finally have somebody that can get the ball to Kyle Pitts. Forever it seemed like that they were just wasting his talent. The big tight end out of Florida. Now they've got a guy that can actually, throw that ball up the seam, attack those seams, and that's what they've been able to do. And Kirk Cousins always playing at a high level. The thing that always kind of affects him, though, and Dallas has played him a couple of times up there in Minnesota, where pressure has bothered him, and that's where I think and I think that's what Nick's going to probably tell us about is that there's ways to attack this guy and maybe force him into some mistakes.
Which sounds great, but the one thought that pops into my head, I'm like, can the Cowboys generate or create some pressures? So
that is the question.
That is the big question there, and seeing if they can somehow try to, I don't even know how to change things up and be able to start generating some of that, because we haven't seen it all season, really.
Yeah. We'll get into that in the second or third segment as well, just talking about this Cowboys defense, some interesting numbers around that. All right, we're going to take our first break. We're going to come back. We'll dive a little deeper into this Atlanta offense. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Don't put off getting your oil changed, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. They're so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's stay in your car 10-minute oil change at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. That means you won't even have time to show off your best touchdown celebration. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take her word for it, Nick.
Please.
Digital Trends said the LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back. Second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. The segment's brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, let's talk about the Atlanta offense. First thing that popped out to me about this offense is that they are 6th in passing yards in the NFL. Talk to me about the two sides of Kirk Cousins. What does he do really well, and where can you find? Where can you also challenge him in areas where he might be a little deficient?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start. Feel free.
Feel free.
He loves the middle of the field.
Yes, he does.
He absolutely loves the middle of the field.
That's a challenge.
That Week 5 win against Tampa Bay on the Thursday night where he threw for 1,000,000 yards, he had 370-plus yards over the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Wait, how much did he have in the rest of the field?
130-ish. Yeah. So it was a heavy difference there. So outside the numbers, if they can start pushing some things to the boundary, I think in coverage, then you might be able to find a little success there. However, he has so many weapons that are just getting better by the week. Kyle Pitts is on his best 4-game stretch of his career right now. He's a guy they used a high pick on, I believe, what was it, 7th overall, 8th overall, something like that a few years ago. And he has just not been able to put it together. They haven't really gotten him involved in the passing offense quite frequently. But now with Kirk Cousins in the mix, he is getting Pitts involved, and this is the best 4-game stretch of his career. But if you're asking what he does really well, loves the middle of the field. I don't want to take too much away from
I mean, I love when you do that. That's good. I appreciate you watching that tape. You got to press these receivers. Easier said than done. You give these guys free access, they kill you in routes. That's what they do. There's a lot of movement. There's movement to movement, and so there's a lot of guys kind of, Moody, London, McLeod. They play a lot of 11 personnel. With the 3 wide receivers and then the tight end. But there's a lot of movement within that, the motions and things, so you kind of deal with that. But when these guys get pressed, they're a different group of receivers, and they don't have as much success. And so when you watch people play tight on them and make them have to make contested plays, it's a little bit of a problem for them. And it's been a little bit of a problem for Kirk Cousins to fit some balls when I was watching. I mean, we talk about the middle of the field, the routes in the middle of the field, the seams, all those places that he works. He gets pressure, that ball will come flying out of his hand in a funny way. And sometimes these receivers, when they're dealing with bodies on them, they will struggle to make the reception, or you'll see some type of an interception. Went back and watched all his interceptions, all 7 of them. A lot of more attacks to the middle of the field. Pittsburgh early in the game, Week 1, was pressure in his face, and then as he gets affected by that, ball flies out of his hand. So that's what you have to do. Amber's right. How do you get pressure? That's going to be some key. I think Dallas has to take a chance, and hopefully you got guys like Bland and maybe Carson and others back. Take a chance, press these guys. Make these guys have to win off the line of scrimmage, because and it might be a problem, because if you don't get pressure, maybe if Parsons gets back, maybe that you could get some pressure there, because Matthews, the left tackle, has been giving up some pressures here lately. Lindstrom, the right guard, has been giving up some pressures.
Yeah.
So, there's ways to do this, but you just have to be committed to making it work. And if you play off coverage against these guys, you're playing right into their hands, because this quarterback, he'll pick you apart that way.
When you mention them playing press, that's a good way to be able to kind of combat what they want to do.
Right.
Is that something that you've seen the Dallas defensive backs do often and or do well?
Play a lot of zone. And that's the thing. I mean, you're trying to think about ways of getting off the field, and you're thinking about, okay, what is Atlanta's weakness? In my opinion, when you watch their receivers play, they in routes and stuff, they're good. They can make plays. But when teams get up on them, their catch numbers go way down. So I'm working on mysteries. I've got some clues, but I might not have the personnel to do it either. It's like last week with San Francisco. We were like, hey man, if you could just control the middle of the field, well, safeties fall apart, if you could just, they don't take advantage of that. That's the problem you're running into right now. This is a really good offense because of the 2 backs. I think the wide receivers are good wide receivers, and the quarterback is capable of making plays. but you got to be willing to maybe do something you're not comfortable doing, and maybe it allows you to do that if you have Diggs and you have Bland and you have Lewis and just, you could get up on these guys and affect them that way.
A couple of stats to back up the point about pressure versus no pressure on Kirk Cousins. He has faced pressure on 87 passing attempts so far this season. He has 7 interceptions on the year. 6 of those have come against pressure. Ooh. Also, when he is pressured, his passer rating has dropped by nearly 50 points. It goes from 111.7 all the way down to 68.5. So,
I can only talk about it.
Yeah.
I can't help you any other way other than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's clear on film.
Yeah.
It's clear on film because the great thing about the next gen stuff that we have, you could go and separate all the pressures.
Yeah.
And now watch him. Now watch like, oh, okay, this is how. But you watch the normal tape and you're like, ooh, that was a good throw. Ooh, that was another good throw. He's going to stand right in the middle of that pocket and he's going to deliver the football. And you know where he is. He's not going to run around. You've played against some run around dudes. Mm-hmm. That the dude at the Ravens, run around guy.
Yeah. He's Brock Purdy last week.
Well, he's more like the guy that you played in week 2 when you look at Carr. I mean, he's going to stand there and deliver the ball. And I know it's a bad thought about Carr, but that's kind of where this guy's going to be. He's going to be standing right there in the middle of that pocket.
You mentioned Purdy last week. I mean, there were many instances where you're watching, he's having all the time in the world just sitting there in the pocket and you're like, oh my God. So again, it sounds great that that's an area where they could, but it's like, can they?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe utilizing some of your linebackers. We've seen Overshown. He has that kind of potential.
This is where I want to go next. And Nick, help me on this one. Yeah. I meant to ask you this question last night.
Absolutely.
What you saw with Overshown on the blitz, can you turn him into something like what Micah Parsons was? Like a poor man's Micah Parsons?
For sure.
I think you can.
I think we all,
I think when Micah first went down, I think that's something that we threw out there as a... No. I mean, what I'm saying is, I think it's something we all threw out there like, maybe that's an option of what they can do. But I think you're right. I think at this point, I'm trying anything I can do, especially against a team like this where it's so apparent if you can get pressure on him. If you can get pressure on him, you can actually force it. And I think last week you made the point, Nick, that you might give up pass rush last week in order to keep them from gashing you in the run game.
You played well on the edge against them, the tosses and stuff.
The question becomes this week, do you decide to maybe flip that narrative and say, hey, we'll take a few more chances and really try to get upfield because we know the quarterback won't take off running on us. So on obvious passing downs, maybe we go after them and maybe we really, try to blitz a little bit more in order to create the pressure that we need.
Yeah, Overshown's an option as well as Leofau. He's probably not as big and probably can't take on those one-on-ones as well as Overshown, but he's a guy that has been using situational blitzing throughout his career, coming down from the second level. Get those guys involved. That's what, and I understand maybe not wanting to in this game specifically because you need
the runners.
No, because you need yes, but you need to cover the middle of the field. Like if we're talking passing downs, you need to cover the middle of the field. You need to have all 3 bodies there,
which is important when you got those linebackers and safeties are covering the middle part.
Then what's more important here? What are you trying to do?
You tell me.
He's not wrong.
You want to lose this way or you
as
want to
Brian
lose
said,
that?
you got clues, but you got no answers.
How do you want to die? You want to die a slow death or a quick death?
I mean, give me the slow one. Maybe the offense can pick it up for us.
Okay, this is what we talked about yesterday. Then, do you make safety changes? All of a sudden, do you have a different idea like Hooker, Wanye Thomas? Do you do something different in the in the middle of the field? I mean, hell, I would damn even think about this is a crazy thought. I think about putting Jordan Lewis back there. I mean, just something that like if
back at safety.
Well, something that some guy that plays with awareness, some guys that sees it, some guy that could drive on the ball, some guy that's the problem. These teams are just so comfortable running routes in the middle of the field.
Yep.
It's amazing how, and that's, I don't know, because in this game, you got 2 backs that average about 5.5 yards a carry, and that's, and here we are once again. You want to stop these 2 backs? Ambar. Play stack box. Put 8 down there. They don't. They average less than 3 yards a carry when teams play stack box against them. You play light box, 6 or less, or neutral box, 7 or less. They have some success. You put 8 down in there, they have problems. Well, here's Dallas. Play 8 in the box. Don't play very well with 8 in the box. Maybe that's something different. Maybe if it is 8 in the box, maybe it is more about Wilson being down there. Maybe you have to play a little bit more single high, but that could be death. But how this guy throws the ball against maybe a single high look up the seams. So
for you, Bryan Broaddus,
yeah.
if you're putting 8 in the box, do you have a little bit more confidence if DaRon Bland is back that you can have success in one-on-one matchups on the outside?
Yes, I do.
See, I think there could be a little bit more confidence there because not only will putting 8 in the box help against those 2 runners, but it also helps covering the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So it's like I would almost look at loading up the middle of the field, loading up the box on almost every down.
That's what we talked about last week. If you could stop the run, you'd put 8 down there. That's teams' answers.
Yeah, that's how you typically stop the run.
If you're getting crushed in the running game, you make it an 8-man box, and you just say we got more than you could block. Problem is, you got more, but they block you with less blockers than they need. Yeah. And that's the issue. And a lot of it has to do with the tackling and all. But this is tough. A couple different ways you can go, but none of them are easy.
I'll tell you this. If Kyle Pitts lines up against Donovan Wilson on that first possession, we can go ahead and start writing our stories.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be very similar to how Kittle had success against Wilson last week, except the difference here is that Pitts has longer strides. He can get across the middle of the field a lot quicker than Kittle can. Kittle just had a little bit more physicality at times, but he was still able to run away from him.
I think Kittle can run away from you. I think Pitts, the thing that makes Pitts tough is he's so damn big. Mm-hmm. He's tall and he's long. And even like some overthrows to him are like, whoa, that's a really bad overthrow. Defending that guy, his reach and all. But the thing with Kittle is he's able to scoot. I think Pitts is a long strider like Nick's talking about, covers some ground. But, man, Kittle could get across. Pitts gets vertically. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of a situation there.
It's almost a situation when I was looking at it on film, I was kind of having to pause it and go, who do you put on this guy?
Yeah.
Because he lines up in the slot. They put him on the ball as well, so he's getting a quick release off the line. Sometimes he'll be lined up against a nickel, which on his first touchdown against Tampa Bay this last week, he was lined up against a nickel. And then at the top of his route, nickel tried to give him a little bit of a fight, and he fell down.
Got a
Pitts
penalty.
was wide open down the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So if you're putting Jordan Lewis in that situation, okay, yes, Jordan Lewis has a little bit of dog to him. He can fight a little bit, but at the end of the day, Pitts is so much bigger. And if you're putting a Donovan Wilson on him, then you're sacrificing speed.
That's what I was just about to say. Would you consider McQuamu like this? He's a long guy, tall guy, right?
Overshown would be an option as well.
I might need him rushing.
Yeah, I was about to say I kind of need him to do other things right now.
How many things can he do on one play?
Oh man,
just chip
but
Pitts,
honestly,
go down.
I really think that this might be a game where you use McQuamu in that way. He's got a little toughness in him.
Late in the game, they put him on Kittle.
Yeah, he'll fight.
Game, they did put him on Kittle.
He's long. I think I'd like to see McQuamu kind of get a little opportunity to maybe match up there.
Yeah, that's not a bad
I think
idea.
if anybody you got on the team, I think right now he's the guy I would feel good about. Yeah. All right, let's take our second break. We'll come back. I do want to talk about these running backs a little bit because they will be a challenge in and of themselves outside of what we've already talked about of the challenge of trying to stop their passing game. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a Pepper thing.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T, connecting changes everything.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Real quick, Nick, you said you had a couple more quick little nuggets for us on the passing game before we moved on to the running game.
Yeah, a couple of things I just want to point out, and if y'all have takes on this, feel free to jump in. Pre-snap motion, obviously, we've talked a lot about that with this offense throughout the year. So on Atlanta's first 14 plays from scrimmage, they ran pre-snap.
In a specific game or just overall?
Excuse me, last week.
Last week,
sorry. They ran pre-snap motion on 10 of those plays.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what all 10 of those plays had in common?
The completions?
They were passing plays.
Yeah.
So the first 10 passing plays, they used pre-snap motion. I think it was 4 of the first 7 or 8 rushing plays they did not. So I think that's just something to kind of keep an eye on. And typically it's not a guy crossing formation most of the time. It's typically like a guy going from the slot to outside the number or a guy inside the number coming outside the number. So, and more times than not, they will not throw to that guy. So what they try to do is they like to direct attention to the opposite side of the field. Hey, you see Drake London moving over here. Be sure and account for him. All right, we're going this way. Yeah, exactly. Pitt's coming across the armpit and just bang right there over the middle of the field. Second thing I want to hit on, this is not a heavy play action team at all, which is a little surprising given the running attack. And also given the fact that Kirk Cousins has been so good with play action during his career. So this is not the only place where there's some questionable play calling sometimes. I think Kirk Cousins needs to get a little bit more involved in the play action. They're only averaging 5.5 play action passes per game. So I think that's quite fascinating. Only 2 for 3.
That's really interesting, especially a team that has this good of running backs that they wouldn't use.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a little surprising. So I just wanted to point those couple of things out. I thought both of those were really interesting.
Do you think it has something to do with being new in a scheme? That like when he was in Minnesota, heavy play action, but you're kind of when quarterbacks turn their back to the defense and then have to find everybody again. Do you think maybe because in Minnesota he knew where all the routes were going to be? And Atlanta, I mean, I know we're 9 weeks into this, but do you think that maybe him turning his back and not knowing maybe where all the routes are going to be?
I think that's a good theory. I think another good theory would also be maybe there's not a lot of trust in what he has in front of him, protection-wise.
That's a fair point, too.
I mean, you look at this right side of the offensive line perspective. I mean, we've talked about Chris Lindstrom over the years being this all-world ass beater, and he has given up 21 pressures, more than anyone on this offensive line this season. His success is really coming to run blocking, though. But in pass protection, it's not been there. Right tackle, Caleb McGarry, 16 pressure. So, I mean, these are guys that have had issues.
Oh, they've had Matthews, Bergeron, Lindstrom.
Yeah.
They've all given up 3 sacks.
Yeah.
I mean, they have guys that have given up 3 sacks in this, so it's not like they're all like, oh, this one guy's just they're having great seasons. I mean, they'll give up some pressures. It's interesting about Bergeron. He was the guy that was,
if you remember, about to say,
draft night. Yeah, between him and Mozzie, right?
Yeah,
was that
It's interesting because the thing that's really jumping out to me here is for everything that you guys are throwing out there, that's like. This is how you can beat this team.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dallas has the weapons right now with how much they've been compromised by injury to be able to take advantage of it. That's the hard part. Now, if you get Micah back,
Yeah.
Now maybe you're working with something there, but it just seems like there are areas where you literally can take advantage of them, and it just maybe Dallas doesn't have the horses to do it.
Yeah. Might need Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Might need him.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the running game. Bijan Robinson, Longhorn, great. He's been averaging 4.7 yards per attempt this year. But here's the interesting thing: they are only 25th in the league in number of rushing attempts.
Yeah.
They don't run the ball a lot to say they've got really good running backs. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Have you seen anything that may suggest why they tend to throw more than they're running? And do you think this is a week where they look at Dallas and say, we need to run the ball?
Yes, on that second point, I believe so. I'd be surprised if they didn't come out in this game with Robinson and Algier and try to hammer it through, because Robinson, obviously a fantastic running back. I'll get into him a little bit later. But Algier is physical.
Yeah.
This guy, he rarely gets stopped behind the line of scrimmage. He is always gaining positive yardage. I mean, it was a situation last year. It was like, all right, we got Bijan Robinson involved in this offense. We used a high draft pick on him. We're going to run him into the ground. And then they're like, wait, we can really split these carries up with this guy, because this guy never loses yardage. Yeah. This is a really balanced attack with two different style running backs that can both gain positive yardage on a consistent basis. Why they don't run them more, I don't really have an answer for that.
This group has 23 carries of 10 yards or more, and they just don't lean on it as much. I know watching tape, I felt like Bijan Robinson was better running to his left, and Algiers was better going to his right. Which I was trying to think, okay, why is there some rhyme or reason here? But it's just kind of the way that the plays kind of broke out. Like I said, I went back and I started watching, like, okay, give me the run stuffs, give me the plays, give me why when they didn't have success, why was it? And it was the 8-man box stuff. Mm-hmm. Count the guys, stop the tape, count them, 8 guys there, because Robinson is only averaging 2.6 yards a carry, well Algiers is 2.7. So teams are.
This is against 8-man boxes?
This is against 8-man boxes. I was like, okay, tell me how they stopping these guys. Because if they're averaging 5.5 yards a carry, there's got to be some runs where they weren't very good. And the common theme and thread was, count them, Brian. There's 8 of them up there. And that's kind of where I was saying, well, if Dallas, if you're going to sell out, play the press, play the 8-man box if you can, and then hope for the best. And like I say, this quarterback, in the past, the Cowboys have played him well when he was at Minnesota. They've caused him turnovers. They've got sacks on him before. He'll stand there and hold that ball, and he's not going to move around and stuff. But to the running back point, man, it's going to be about. It's going to be about, can you get enough bodies in there to defend the run?
It's even more interesting too that they don't run them as often, because with a rushing attack like this, you would think that the Falcons would be trying to control the clock every single game.
Yeah.
In time of possession battles. They've only won the time of possession battle twice all season. So it's interesting that they have these guys.
So it's not a priority for them.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. They want to find a big play. They want to get all of these weapons involved. I think with a fair share or fair split, Darnell Mooney, they have really been able to isolate his speed on the outside against guys. You saw that on a touchdown throw that Cousins overthrew just a bit. I believe it was in the second quarter last week against Tampa Bay. But Mooney, he can get out, and if he can get lined up against a guy like Trayvon Diggs, where he can really use his speed against Diggs, that's a problem. And then London, possession opportunities in the red zone, that's a problem. I mean, they really do a good job of getting these weapons involved.
This team, their best pass plays, and this is what drives Cowboy fans nuts, is the hitch plays. They go up and curl back inside, and Cousins just bam throws the ball. And you look at Drake London, you look at Moody. That's their primary. Those are the plays that they're really, really big on. So they're going to try and get the ball out, but they're like the receivers they do a really good job of running those routes. I just was kind of just curious too. London, I was looking at him, the outs, the hitch, and the slant were the 3 top routes that he ran. So if you're going into the game, you're thinking, okay, this is the 3 I'm going to get. I'm going to get some type of an out route. I might get that curl back in, like I was talking about the hitch route, and then that slant. It makes a lot of sense. Moody's routes I looked at were the out, the screen is one that they're really, really big on with him, and then the hitch and the crossing route. So he's kind of the crossing route guy that they use. So if they attack the middle of the field with the crosser, then it might be number 1 doing it.
Are they pretty good at moving the chains right off the bat from beginning, like first quarter?
I didn't feel like that they got stopped.
In the first half, absolutely not. Last week. Last week they were moving, and they have been moving the ball. They didn't play well against Seattle.
No, Seattle got after them
I had
pretty
the
good.
unfortunate error of watching that game in the entirety a couple weeks ago when we had the Sunday off, and they couldn't get the ball moving at all.
No.
But aside from that game, they can move the ball.
What did you see from Seattle that was so effective?
I need to go back. I'm be 100% honest. I need to go back and see a little bit more. I think their interior generated pressure. I know that right off the top, and their secondary is physical, and they were able to press, like Bryan said.
Yeah, they got beat up in that game, and they got beat up on the defensive side of the ball too.
Yeah.
Atlanta's defense got beat up a little bit there, but the thing that Seattle was able to do was the inside pressure. That was a big. They really struggled when
was it the defensive tackles or were they blitzing up
tackles?
Okay,
the tackles. They were Seattle's got long ends, long tall ends, and they got inside presence with push. And that's what they were able to do. They beat up the Atlanta's offensive line pretty good in that game.
I feel like,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like in all of these games, most of the games that we've seen from the Cowboys so far this year, the defense tends to usually do just enough in the first half of the game for your offense to kind of pick up the pace, but that's the problem, that the offense doesn't do that. But I feel like right off the bat, the defense tends to start pretty good and just do what they can to manage the game and stop the offense, like the opposing offense. But if this is an offense that right off the bat, they're pretty good at like moving everything and getting to the end zone, that could potentially be a big problem for this Cowboys team.
Is this the best offense the Cowboys will have seen this season so far?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Detroit.
So I think of Detroit. I think of Baltimore.
Detroit's a bit. Baltimore, Detroit.
I think of when you got New Orleans. In week 2 when they were healthy.
You play New Orleans now, you probably run them.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I'd put this Atlanta offense over week 2 in New Orleans. I think it was just the way that Dallas attacked them.
It's just a team with these two backs now.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's like Detroit. It was hard to deal with, and you got a quarterback. I mean, like Detroit's got a veteran quarterback. Atlanta got a veteran quarterback.
Yep.
You've got Detroit has a tight end. Atlanta has a tight end. I don't know. I think Detroit's wide receivers are better than this crew.
Yeah.
So I would say that, but man, they're very it's like I say they do a good job of getting some explosive plays out of this group.
One interesting point, and I'd curious to get all of your takes on this. In that loss against Seattle, Bijan Robinson had his best day of the season, and Seattle seemed content allowing him to get his. But and they were trying to just lock down that passing attack and not let any of those weapons get free. Are you willing to do that?
Yeah, like let him run.
Are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. He might have a great day anyway. Yeah. So if you're going to look at it from that standpoint, and I will tell you this is what worries me the most about stopping this running attack. They've got one running back who's extremely elusive. They've got another one who's extremely aggressive.
Yeah.
And what have we said about this Dallas defense in a lot of games this season? They have a hard time tackling at times. They're not a good tackling team at times.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going up against a guy who is very aggressive, that takes usually more than one guy to get him down, and then you got another guy who's really elusive that can make you look foolish in the open field, that doesn't help your tackling ability. Those are things that directly make your tackling ability go down a bit. So that's the part that worries me most about this particular running attack is you're facing two backs that are going to be very difficult to take down, even if you were a good tackling team. And Dallas has shown signs this year that at times they don't tackle well.
Tell me if I'm wrong here. I'm more worried about them throwing the ball to their backs than maybe their running game. Because they don't miss.
I see where you're coming from, but
they don't
miss.
I'm
still scared of the running game.
The running game, it's scary. But to me, getting those guys if you look at separation and stuff like that, these backs, they don't miss. This quarterback does not miss throwing the ball in the flat or throwing the ball to these backs.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about get them in space. How well are they going to tackle? I just worry about their passing game to these backs. Mm-hmm. That Dallas doesn't handle the screens or the flat plays. The ball's thrown in the screen to Robinson. Here comes Wilson. He misses. Now it's I mean, I can't tell you how many times it was it could have been a 3-yard gain. Instead, it's a 13-yard gain. because of their inability to attack. These two running backs not only run the ball well, but man, they catch the ball well too. I worry about that. Big time.
That's a wrap. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll jump into the Atlanta defense.
Like a big loss, doesn't it?
Versus the Cowboys offense. And we'll see how that plans out. Because honestly, with all the injuries that the Cowboys have sustained, as in past weeks, I think this game's really going to come down to how good can the Cowboys offense be. So we'll get into that tomorrow, and we'll see what we think of that matchup. Until then, for Nick Harris and Bryan Broaddus and Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?